Today, Ford starts shipping the E-Transit to customers. Tesla has cut a component out of its steering wheel system, and also the VW ID4 comes to the United States in 2022 with a few tweaks. All that and more is to come today on Daily Car News. Today's first story, Ford is shipping the E-Transit out of its Kansas City location. This is the first deliveries we're seeing for the E-Transit. This is the company's first US plant to assemble both the car and the battery in the same house. This is Ford's newest EV, and it's also one of the most expected EVs. This is not just any passenger car. The E-Transit is meant to work. The Ford E-Transit has a sort of delivery base or customer base of up to 300 different orders for this batch alone for 100,000 separate cars. So 300 different customers, more than for this many different cars, is showing the demand for the E-Transit. They're looking to produce about 600,000 EVs by the end of the year in 2023. So Ford has a big year ahead. Tesla has cut a steering component from a few of its cars in Beijing. The Model Y and the Model 3 have call it an ECU in the steering system that translates sort of rotational direction and rotational space to where the wheels turn. They had two chips, but in order to go ahead and make goals, they went ahead and cut one of those because one was redundant. Now, this does mean that they won't be able to hit full self-driving level 2, or at least level 2 of full self-driving with this batch of cars that will need an extra hardware update from what Tesla is aiming to do, where they can just sort of push a single software update to all the cars and unlock full self-driving. Customers weren't told by Tesla employees because this part was deemed redundant, but again, this means that they will need to go ahead and bring it to a service center later on if they want that full self-driving package. The item supposedly relays, again, the steering wheel position to the wheel turning in the front, and it is redundant, so I guess everything is okay there, but I'm still sort of hoping that Tesla can get these cars in and recalled and fixed sooner rather than later. The report from CNBC says that Tesla has stated that it is more of a survival tactic rather than anything, and it didn't view it as such a big deal. It spent less than a few weeks debating the issue and the change. This has affected about 5 to 10,000 cars out of the Shanghai factory that'll be going to Europe and Japan and also Shanghai. Over to Germany with VW and the ID4, the cars that are shipping to the United States are going to be changed a little bit. The MSRP price is going up by $764. The battery, but the DC fast charging, is going up to 135 kilowatts rather than 125 from previous. This also does include an auto hold feature. So you're at the stoplight, for example, the car will hold the brakes for you. Also plug and charge, and there is a slight but undisclosed range increase. Now, Rivian had a fire over the weekend. There seems to have been a fire they had to temporarily evacuate the Normal, Illinois factory. No employees or firefighters were hurt. It seems that there was a vehicle fire up on a lift. It was isolated because of the fire suppression system in the factory. It was spraying when the fire department got ahead to the scene. No one was hurt, and due to the size of the factory, 2 fire departments from Normal, Illinois and Bloomington, Illinois were on the scene to help. Good to know that nobody was hurt, and also good to know that the fire suppression system and safety systems were there to take care of everybody. Now, the United States Postal Service claims that it's committed to the future of EVs, but it has to make do with what it has in terms of funding. The USPS only has funding for about 5,000 EVs, even though they could use more around the country. They have to make do with internal combustion engine mail trucks to go ahead and supplement the EVs that are on order. Right now, the USPS has to rely on postage, packages, and services to fund its operations rather than specific taxes for the USPS. Jumping over the pond to Britain, the British manufacturer MG, the legendary British manufacturer MG of sports cars, is set to unveil a new affordable electric sports car in 2024. This is very exciting. It's to celebrate the company's 100th birthday. The MG Cyberster is what they're looking to call it, was unveiled in the 2021 Shanghai Auto Show. 5,000 prospective buyers said yes to the car at the auto show that greenlit the project. We can expect a two-seat, fully electric roadster type of car that can sort of compete in the Mazda Miata territory, Toyota MR2, or the next generation Toyota GR Sports EV. They're claiming about 497 miles of range and a sub 3-second 0 to 60. Very cool to see. I'm excited to see what MG can do, and hopefully we can get some here on the US roads rather than only in Britain. Speaking of US roads, the Ford CEO has commented, and he is committed to getting rid of high dealer markups. Right now, about 10%, at least according to them, to Ford, right now about 10% of Ford dealers are charging more than MSRP for select vehicles. This is your Ford Lightnings, your Ford Broncos, or not your Ford Lightnings, but your Ford Broncos, your Ford Mavericks. And what they're saying is, hey, if you're doing that, you're going to lose allocation for the Ford Lightning. So they're going to hit them where it hurts. Right now, they are, again, they know exactly who you are if you are the dealer listening to this. They know who you are. Don't do it, and listen to Ford and do the right thing. They do have to compete with Tesla and Rivian for a direct customer, direct to consumer sales approach. And so that'll be something that you do need to work with. They want to work with dealers just as they have in the past because it is successful, but they want to make sure that they treat their customers right and that there isn't any artificial strain on the market when it comes to their cars. Now, Mini is keeping the internal combustion engine for one specific car. The John Cooper Works Mini Cooper, or their sort of flagship, most powerful, most fun car, is getting an internal combustion engine. This will be alongside the Mini EV, but right now we are sparse in details. We're looking at an unveil in late 2023 for a product year of 2024. It'll have different styling. It was spotted testing with different camo. It had one tailpipe, but we're expecting two, and we're expecting the interior to sort of stay the same, but change in sort of meaningful ways, like the touchscreens and the buttons will all sort of stay similar to what it has been, where the toggles sort of look like you were in an aircraft carrier, or the gigantic center circle display, which is known to Minis and really should not change. Speaking of testing vehicles, the BMW 3 Series has been spotted testing in Germany with M Performance parts. There is camo in the front and the back, but the bumper and the rear fender, the front and rear bumpers, were molded, and they seem like M Performance parts. We'll learn more about the 3 Series from BMW in the coming months and expect it to be out on the roads next year. And we can expect a reveal before the end of the year. It was really cool to see these cars out on the road. You know, companies do this as they get closer and closer to the unveil. But again, this is not an M3. This is sort of the baby M3. It's not an M car. It's a normal 3 Series with M stuff on it. Speaking of more testing vehicles, especially in Europe, the 2023 Volvo XC40 has been spotted with a facelift. This wasn't disguised. It was just out on the road. And in fact, on Volvo's European configurator site, it was just there. We don't have it here in the United States yet, but we do have screenshots of the configurator in the European Union. It's gotten a facelift. The reshaped headlights and a new bumper and new fascia on the front and the back, as well as very few changes to the interior materials are there, except for a decorative strip on the dash. The XC40 has been a hit for the Volvo since 2017 when it unveiled, and this is the sort of midlife upgrade before the next generation. And this is sort of the midlife upgrade for the XC40 before the next generation. Speaking of the next generation, Nissan is ending development of all internal combustion engines for most major markets except the United States. Now, they're focusing on EVs. They're the first Japanese manufacturer to really commit to EVs in such a way where they're not developing any more gas engines. They're phasing out internal combustion engines for Chinese and Japanese markets right now, and will continue to develop the engines that they have for the hybrids and try to make the ones that they have even better going forward, but they will not be developing new engines. I hope that they have an RB30 or something like that for us sort of nerds and us geeks and us car guys that has been developed and they're just waiting to unveil it, rather than sort of accepting the fact that we don't have an RB30 around the corner. Factories are expecting to remain open and no jobs will be lost as of yet. Finally, moving back to the United States, the Maverick, the Ford Maverick, has outsold its competition like hotcakes. This thing is one of the best things to hit the market, and it is one of the most famous trucks right now. At $20,000 starting, the Ford Maverick is the little truck that could. It sold 6,500 units in January. It outsold Ford Ranger, Toyota Tundra, Honda Ridgeline, but it couldn't topple the king of tiny trucks. The Toyota Tacoma is still at the top with 15,000 units sold in January. Now, there is also the true king of pickups, the Ford F-150, 50,000 units sold in January. You have a lot of work to do, my little friend, the Maverick, if you want to outsell the F-150. This has been a great start for the Maverick of this year. I expect these numbers to grow and it to grow in popularity, especially as buyers of the younger generation that live in cities that are a little smaller, the roads are a little smaller, and you don't have as much space, but you do want a truck to lug things around. This is a great option for you. So the Ford Maverick is proving successful, at least so far in 2022. That's been our news for today. Thank you so much for joining me. Please go down to the description below if you want to read any more about what we've discussed today. Of course, all of our social media and all of our links are down there as well, at Gary Fasalvo and at _Daily Car News. On Twitter, if you want to send us a tip or a trick on what's happening in the car industry. This has been Gary, this has been Daily Car News, and we will see you tomorrow.